That is odd. Okay. It looks to me like everything is working pretty good for the most part. There is one concern that I have, and I've fixed it several times. I don't know what's going on. When you did the quiz over chapters 1 and 2, in that is a picture of Abraham Lincoln, the French's Abraham Lincoln sculpture. And I replaced that picture a couple times, but every once in a while when I open up the quiz, you don't see it. Is
Yeah.
that something that, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't see it, and that kind of confused me. And I thought maybe it wasn't a question from the chapter. It kind of confused me a little bit. Um,
Yeah, it's a
so
question that's
yeah.
right out of the chapter. I'm going to show everybody what the image is right today, and I want to go through that quiz too a little bit. But yeah, and I can see because I didn't understand people were giving answers that had nothing to do with what we were going for, and I think it's like exactly what you just said. Without seeing the picture, it's hard to know.
Mm-hmm.
And what frustrates me is that every other class I'm teaching, that picture shows up, and this is an exact copy of another class. So I don't understand why it's not showing up in that quiz. I'm going to have to talk to tech support again and see because they have no idea what's going on either, and see. I don't know. It completely baffles me as to why it's not showing up.
Yeah. When things are copy and paste, like copied on Canvas, they seem like the links are lost. I think you have to upload links back into, but I'm not 100% sure
Yeah, and
if
I've
that's the
I've
case
done
here.
that. I've done that on all the links, and I even re-uploaded the picture and redid the quiz, and it's not working.
Not working. Yeah. Yeah. But it's a really good question because it's exactly related to the assignment of the house. So, yeah.
Okay. Um, there's a couple things that I'm noticing that kind of surprises me. For this class, there are a lot of small assignments that need to be done. And talking to a couple different people, the icons, and I'm just going to show, I'm going to do a screen share and show my view. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, this is my view. And if we look up right here on these icons, these things, and this, Mabel, this was something that you pointed out last week. In the student view, sometimes you'll see a check mark after you read the page, and sometimes you don't. And there's nothing I can do about that. I don't know why it shows up sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. But I've had a couple questions about people saying, well, I have this, it's due January 7th, but I don't know what to submit. I don't know, there's no rubric, there's no definition of what to submit. Well, when you see this icon where it's just a page with the corner bent over, this just means you're supposed to read it. And this date means you just read it by that date, and that's it. And the way Canvas verifies that is that it sees that you as the user opens the page, and then it assumes you've read it. This little rocket ship, that means it's a quiz. And if we go down to this one right here, we can scroll down. There's another quiz here. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not this one. Sorry about that. It's under the module Applying the Tools of Artistic Critique. There's this is also a quiz. So it's a rocket ship that's dark and it's a rocket ship that's light. Both of those are quizzes that need to be done. And then this is the due date. So that's two icons, a page that's been over, which means you did not submit anything, you just open it and read it. A rocket ship, which means you do take the quiz. And then the things you actually have to submit are this, where it's a page with a little pencil on it. That means that there is an assignment. And the assignment you should be able to either submit a file or type directly into the assignment thing. So it's either text or file. And I do mention it in the syllabus in a couple places. If you are submitting things with your phone, the default for most iPhones and Androids, I believe, is an HEIC file. And that's what the extension is. That's the file type, HEIC. My computer will recognize PNG files. They'll recognize JPEGs, PDFs, and docs, as well as MOV, MP4, and WAV files. But my computer system will not recognize the HEIC file. So if you are submitting through the phone and you get a note where you got a 0 on the assignment, look at what I wrote, because if it's an HEIC file, that's going to be why. And I'll just say, um, send it into a file that my computer can process, and I'll list those, and you just resubmit. There are file translators that are free online where you can reformat anything in a matter of moments from one file type to another. So,
Yeah.
but that's what these icons are, things that you actually do submit. This is a written one, the artist review. And again, the artist review, if you look at each module, you'll have an area that says background and then the name of the module. And the background will have several different artists in it. And when you do the artist review, I say it in the assignment parameters, but this always is a reflection of these artists. So any artist, any module, you refer to the artist in the background section, and those are the artists that you draw from.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And then,
it's an adjustment when you just take a class that you have to be familiar with how the class is structured. For example, my experience at BYU is that all of the classes were structured. BYU Idaho was all of them were structured the same way, no matter what class I was taking. It wasn't changing that much. But here at UVU, all of the classes have different structures, how they are written in Canvas. So some classes have all of the modules in the home area. Like I have a class where there's not a module category, it's in the home. So there is a curve of learning that happens at the beginning of the class, a week, 2 weeks, where basically it's like 2 weeks where your brain has to adjust to what you're
right,
seeing, and it's going to take a couple of weeks until you get familiar, and you'll spend scrolling on the same class like over and over for like hours sometimes, trying to get familiar with the class. And then usually that's what happens. It's tedious. It's very tedious, and I wish all of the classes were structured the same way, but they're not here. And
right.
that's what I learned, that it's gonna be a little bit frustrating at the beginning, but once you know how it's written, then it's easy. Then you know how it is, and you get your way, you find your way inside the class. So
Well, and the project modules, modules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I've tried to structure them about the same way. And if you go on the homepage of mine, you can see that all the modules are right there. But and then you go to we're going to the module page, but most of the modules are going to be set up the very similar way. And the other thing I wanted to point out is the discussions that we have in this class are graded, which means there are a potential number of points. And that's what that icon is, where it has two word balloons right there. And then what I wanted to do is just kind of show the format of another module, another project module, and then talk about the work log a little bit, because some people are confused in that. But before I do that, I want to reiterate that whatever score you get on anything, it can be changed. So if you open up an assignment that you submitted and you realize there's a zero, don't get upset about it. Just look at it and see why there's a zero. Because 9 times out of 10, it will be because of something silly like the person put in the wrong assignment. I mean, that happens a lot of the time if there's a zero. Another one will be it's the wrong format of file. And then that's a relatively easy change. Like if I I will not be able to access Google Doc links, and a lot of the times that's because historically, for whatever reason, my watch is talking to me. Um, well, for whatever reason, when people have tried to send me files like that, there's always a permission wall, and that's why I don't want links. I want the actual file sent, because we're not going to be. I'm not going to deal with permission walls. Um, but so this is what the module kind of looks like, where you have the reading pages that are not assignments you turn in. They just have dates to read by. You have quiz assignments, and you do your best to get by that date. If you don't have access to the book or whatever, something comes up or your car breaks down or whatever, you just let me know. Not a big deal. And some more pages to read. And then the assignments that you turn in are the ones that have the pages with the pencil on it. And then you also have the discussion assignments. Now, I did want to go over the work log a little bit more, and I'm clicking on that. This is a model for the work log. And if we go back to the modules page, most of the modules that you have to go through and produce something at the end, like this, you have to produce assignments to turn in, things like that. Most of those kinds of modules are going to have a work log assignment. And this is something that's mandated to me for this class by the department. So we can't get out of it. Now, this applying the tools of artistic critique is a little bit different. You'll notice there's not a work log down here. But whenever you see a module that you open up and it does have a work log assignment in it, that work log is just the time it took to read and go through the information in that particular module. And I'm saying this because several people for this work log for Research Module 7A, notice it says for Research Module 7.A, several people turned in stuff that they also did for this. And you don't. That's not how it works. The work log for Module 1, Sculpture-Based Photography, is for the work that's done in Module 1. So this is reading all these pages, taking the quiz, looking at the background, watching those videos, writing your artist review, sculpture-based photography, and the time it takes for you to participate in the discussion. All of that goes into work log for Module 1. And then for the research module, this work log is going to be just these things. Reading this, going through the artist list, watching the video, and declaring, and then doing whichever of these two assignments. So that this module 1, this project should take about 10 to 14 hours. So the work log should be for a total of about 10 to 14 hours. This whole thing should take on average about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half. And then, so this work log will be for that amount. So that's one element of confusion that I wanted to clear up. The other thing is, every time you turn in a work log, there needs to be a total at the bottom for that particular work log, for that work log for that module. And if you turn in a work log and you get 0 points, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be because the total is not included. And so you look at it, see, please resubmit with the total, and then you just add it up and resubmit with the total, and then you get the points. I want to reiterate again, anytime you see either 0 or less points than what you want, look at the notes that I make. And if you feel that I'm grading the wrong thing or I'm not seeing what you're doing, let me know. However, you do need to email me because I don't see the responses um, outside of the submissions. And if we go here, do an artist review, and I'm just going to show you my view really quick here. This is what it looks like. You know, and for my view, when somebody's turned this in, I'll see the writing right here. I can put the score in right here, and then I will write either good job or I'll say why you didn't get all the points. If you want to respond to this, you can always respond as a message on here, or you can email me directly, either one. And if you do resubmit, try not to erase these comments because that helps me to see how you're progressing, how you're working on it. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see this. Hold on a sec. This is okay. Sorry, Mabel, you're too nice. This is what I'm talking about. This is the area where I see the assignment. This is where I score it. And then this is where I write the comments. So if you got out of 20 points, you got 18, and I make some notes here, don't just give up and accept the 18 laying down. Fix it. And several people have gone through and already done that with the quizzes where I'll tell them these answers are wrong, refer to the textbook or whatever. And several people took the quiz without their textbook and then went back and took it again with their textbook, resubmitted it. It's not a problem. And they got a good grade. They got a better grade. So that was one thing that I wanted to talk about. So what may happen is if you guys are working on other classes and you don't turn things in on time for this class, so you come back to this class and you see that there's 3 or 4 assignments with zeros, you look, your grade sucks, it's terrible. Then go back, do those assignments, turn them in, and if I don't grade them within a day or two, email me and remind me that you turned the assignment in. And then I'll go back and redo it. Mabel, have you resubmitted anything?
Yeah.
Okay. How
Yes,
fast
and
was I in
oh, really fast. You're faster than any teacher I've had.
okay, good. Excellent.
Yeah. So,
Because and most of the time, if the assignment is due within a day or two, I will go back and do zeros for everybody who hasn't turned stuff in. That does not mean you lose those points and you get zeros. I do that because that triggers your Canvas shell to tell you and remind you that you have that assignment to do. And that's the main reason I put the zeros on there. Okay, so I showed you a little bit about Module 1, how that's laid out. We have the reading pages, the quizzes, and then the different kinds of assignments. We go to Module 2, you have the introduction, you have the reading, you have the quiz, the artist review. And this one, I'm thinking, all right, let's look right up here. We have the artist review, we have the background. Right here we have the background, and then the quiz is after that, and between that and the artist review. Let's see. I think I'm going to move this so the quiz is above that. All right, so you have the introduction, you have the quiz, then you have the background, the artist review. And again, the background, when we open that up, it shows you all the different artists that kind of relate to the subject matter for this particular project module.
yeah, that was really interesting. Great to know.
So that's what that's all for. And then after doing the background, you have the artist review. And when you look at the artist reviews, each of the artist reviews are different, and each of them require a little bit of different thinking. So the first one we're talking about the ways of engaging people. Which artists what are the commonalities of the artists that you saw? Which artists did you like the best? And then name 4 of the ways they and give examples of 4 of the ways that they engage people with their art. That's the first one. This is the second one for this module, and you'll notice that it is different. There's 3 paragraphs again, but this time you're looking at 2 different ones. You particularly you pick 2 different artists, and you talk about why you're responding to their work, and then the third paragraph is compare and contrast those 2 artists. And on this one, there were several people in the first module that put bullet points in there instead of writing paragraphs. And I just wrote and said, you'll get more points. To get more points, just redo that paragraph and write it as a paragraph rather than a bullet pointed list. They redid that, and I regraded it, right away. Some people will take this, they'll copy the paragraphs out, or I'm sorry, they will copy this into like a Word document. Then they'll respond to each of the different prompts with the paragraph, and then they'll put that file in with these paragraph prompts. And if you want to do it that way, that's fine. If you want to just write the paragraphs and without the prompts included in your submission, that's fine too. And I'm not grading on how amazing you are with your language facilities. I am grading on basic fundamentals. So making sure that the sentences actually are sentences, and a paragraph should be 3 to 5 sentences at least. You do need to use punctuation, capitalization when it's appropriate, and double check your spelling. About 2 years ago, I did have several people turn in those essays where in the middle of the essay, there'd be a phrase like, I don't have an opinion about these artists because I'm an AI program based on a large language model. So I have no opinion of my own. And of course, they got zeros. I gave them a chance to rework it. I don't care if you use AI as a tool to help you, but don't use AI to replace your thinking. And I'm not asking you to write these essays because I love reading them. I don't. It's to demonstrate that you are processing the information you learned looking at the artist in the background. That's what it is, essentially. Now, sometimes the discussions, like with the discussion where you introduce yourself and respond to 3 other people, you have to interact with other people. Some of the discussions are also going to be you just post your work so that other people can look at it. You don't have to respond to anybody or anything. And I think I've done it so that like every other discussion, you just post your work, and then the other discussions you do talk about what other people have done. So everyone is a little bit different. Module 3 is going to be the same, along those lines too. And I also, please keep your eyes open if there are links, like Mabel was just saying, if there are links that are not working, let me know, and I will either replace them or fix them. One or the other. And sometimes they work consistently, sometimes they don't. Just let me know, and I'll fix it. Now, this is not due for another 2 or 3 weeks. No, it looks like 3 weeks. And these ones are after you've declared yourself, you'll either do the service learning assignments or you'll do the artist research assignment just based on what you picked. And that's something else that I wanted to talk about a little bit too. If we go right here, about half of everybody has told me whether they're going to do artist research or service learning. And of that half of people, some of them have tried before I took off the assignments that they're not doing, they went ahead and submitted some of those assignments. And when you pick either artist research or service learning, if you pick artist research, you're only going to be doing the artist research option. If you pick service learning, you're only going to be doing the service learning option. You're not going to be doing both. And if you decide to change later, you can change later. That's fine. But as soon as you do say, I'm going to do artist research or service learning, I go through and take your name off the list for the other option. And explained that last week, and I hope it's clear. If you have any questions about that, let me know. But that's something that people need to be doing. It was due um, Sunday, so that's something that everybody needs to be doing. And I will start putting zeros into assignments so that haven't been turned in, so that Canvas will remind you to get that turned in. And again, is the zero permanent? It's not. The zeros are never permanent. You can always resubmit. You can always redo stuff or submit it when you get around to it. I think that's really important to remember. A few years ago, when COVID hit, UVU was transitioning to full online, and that first semester where things were still kind of up in the air, we were meeting on campus partly, and then we were also doing online partly. And in one of my classes, there's a young man whose parents are a little bit older, and he was taking care of them for the majority of the semester. So we were 3 weeks away from the end of the semester, and he had all these zeros. I think his grade was a solid D minus. And he said, "Yeah, I'm just going to take the class again and accept the fail." I asked him why, and he said, "Because I haven't, I've gotten zeros on all this stuff." I said, "Well, did you actually do the assignments?" And he said, "Yes, but I've been concentrating on my parents, so I haven't gotten around to turning them in." So he actually went through, and all the assignments that he finished, he turned in very quickly. And then as I was grading them and telling him what he's missing, what to include, and stuff like that, he turned around and resubmit it. And in that 3 weeks at the end of the semester, he got his grade up to an A minus. So I want to stress a zero does not mean a zero. It's not permanent.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Now, we are going to talk a little bit about the house project in just a sec, but before we get to that, Mabel, you're doing artist research, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple students that are doing service learning, and I wanted to share what that process is, what those processes look like. So let's see. So the artist research, I do talk about this quite a bit right in here,
Mm-hmm.
and it is pretty straightforward. And I wanted to show what that entails for everybody, what those assignments are. So the first artist research option is just declaring your artist selection. And I have that in the discussion so that several different students don't pick the same artist. I want everybody to do somebody different. And then first I'm going to go through what the different artist research assignments are. So notice that this is not due until February 8th, which is 3 weeks away. This is the annotated bibliography. And the annotated bibliography, and we'll talk about, more about this next week as well. But in this, I've included 5 different citation machines, as well as a tutorial on how to use MLA format and a description of what this part of the process looks like if you are doing artist research. You're going to find 5 different sources, and we'll talk about things like bias in research and stuff like that. And the 5 sources cannot include Wikipedia, and there's a very specific reason for that. Wikipedia has absolutely no gatekeeping. Anybody who wants to can write an article about Wikipedia and have it published on Wikipedia. It is not a valid source by itself to do your research. However, if you go to any of the Wikipedia articles, and I'm going to pull something up right now, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's the free encyclopedia, but there's, like I said, there's absolutely no gatekeeping. One of my very favorite celebrities. This guy was the most photographed celebrity of the 19th century. Absolutely super dude. Um, And a lot of this information is really good. However, we can't use Wikipedia as a direct source for any of our research. If you go down all the way to the bottom here, you're going to see, there's a lot of stuff written on here, so I'm going to scroll a little bit faster. We go all the way down here, we start seeing reference points. And here's a calendar of reference points, and then there's going to be the citation links. And if you see right here, references, these are the things that you can use out of the Wikipedia article. These will be links to different articles and different research done by other people. These are going to, unless they link back to Wikipedia, I really like using these because they do represent solid gatekeeping, and there is going to be some good stuff. Like this one we can't really use because it links back to Wikipedia. But if we go down here, the Florida Historical Quarterly, again, we can't use this directly because it's in Wikipedia, but this will give you information on how to access the Florida Historical Society so that you can actually use their information. And you'll go directly to the Florida Historical Society instead of Wikipedia. This gives you an ISBN number for this book, and this will be a good reference that you can use. And you can, or a JSTOR article, or different things like that. So that's something that I want to point out to people. You don't use Wikipedia as a main reference point, but you use Wikipedia to help direct you to the sources that you can cite. So this talks about MLA format, but I like these 5 websites, and I have a list of about 10 that you can go through and find. What you can do to use these websites is you can go to the website, put in the URL of the article that you've used, and then ask it to format it in MLA format right here. And then these websites will take that URL and transform it into an MLA formatted citation. Now, of course, this is all AI and it's not exactly accurate 100% of the time. Sometimes you're going to get something where it will include the blurb of the website in the citation, which is not appropriate, or it will divide up names in an arbitrary way, which is kind of silly. And if any of that happens, I'll point it out when you do this assignment, and you just need to edit it, fix it, and then resubmit. And then here's some other citations, or not citations. Here's a couple other links that will also help in understanding how to do this. So I talked specifically about the 2 paragraphs for each of the 5 citations for your annotated bibliography, but I want you to look right here. At the end of each citation, you need to have this phrase, and it's the accessed on date phrase. Anytime you access something on the internet, why do you think it's important to have a date for the time that you do access it?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, I'm sorry, please. And if you don't know the answer, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Okay. The internet is always changing. It is constantly changing. And sometimes people restructure websites so that, like, for example, the link that I send you from the background section doesn't take you to the right area. That's happened more than once just because somebody's restructuring their website. If you go to that archive.net website or archive.org, I think, website, you can put in the website information, your URL or whatever, and the date that you accessed it, and regardless of how many times that website has changed since then, it will show you what it looks like on that original date. And
Interesting.
that's why it's so important. So the citations are not complete until after you put the access to on date. And when you make your 5 uh, bibliographic entries, each of them need to have the access to on date. So, and that the main reason is that anybody who follows you and wants to learn what you learned, they will be able to access the exact same material as it was looking like when you accessed it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And we'll talk more about what kind of articles you can use and stuff like that too. So that is the annotated bibliography. Then the third thing that you do if you're doing artist research is a PowerPoint presentation. And we'll talk more about that as we next month as we get closer to it. The PowerPoint presentation, if you open that up, there will be a link here that talks about how to make a PowerPoint, and then they'll give you a couple examples, and we'll look at those a little bit more in depth. And it's basically a 5 to 8 minute video of you presenting what you found out in that earlier annotated bibliography about
Mhm.
your artist.
So module 2 is shaded. Most of the things are shaded on my end.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it can you cannot access anything. Like you try to click and it's not on opening. The
On
only
module 2,
yeah, on module 2.
have you gone through from the top down?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
Because from my end, this means it's published and it's ready to be opened. The only thing that, from my end, the only thing that would inhibit anybody accessing that is it's designed so you have to start from here and go down this way.
okay, so then that's what's going on then.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
never
if you
mind.
start the other way, it won't
Mm,
work.
yeah, that's
So if it is
I
still
mean
not
if
working,
as yeah, I'm not gonna I cannot confirm that because I'm not going to work on like reading it now. Do you know what
right,
I'm
right.
saying from the top? But
Yeah.
it's completely shaded. But I guess because none of the other ones are. That's why. Let me
Well,
see.
all
Are
of
the
them
other
when they're
ones like
published will
that
be
as
like all
well?
the project modules should be this in the same format, be like
Okay.
that as well, where you start from the top and you go down and have to open each one in sequence. If it
Mm-hmm.
is not working for you, let me know, and
Okay.
I will talk to tech support again.
And have you launched those the module 3 and 4 and they cannot
No,
be opened. So
they are not published yet.
okay, they're not published yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are not published yet. We're still working on these other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why if you guys have tried to access them, that's why they're not accessible. I'm still
Okay.
fiddling with them a little bit. So, and then at the very last, after you do the PowerPoint, like I said, we'll talk more about that. The very last thing is a 5 paragraph opinion essay. And that's it, just about your experience and with that learning about that artist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are doing the service learning, that's going to look different. And I wanted to talk about that because with the service learning, like right up here, when you start doing your artist list, I ask you, well, I think in the artist research module, I ask you to kind of do a self-assessment and talk about your own personal identifiers. And these are things that you never ever turn into me. Notice I say right here, this list will not be turned in. You do not tell me what the identifiers are, but I want you to be aware of them as you move forward with the research or the service learning you do in the future for this class. I want you just to be aware of the things, the skill sets that you have, and I want you to be aware of how you can connect with people that are very different from you. So the artist list, everybody who has picked an artist have talked about how different they are. from the artists that they picked that they resonate with, and that's part of the process of the research. But again, you're not telling me your self-identifiers. All you're doing is being aware of that in the back of your head. If you do the service learning option, that kind of thing is really important because service learning for this class will not count if it's like setting up chairs or something that anybody can do. And that's why anybody who's doing service learning, this is the first process that you go through where you list the skills that you have as an artist. This is an art class. The service needs to be connected with your art skills. Then you need to do a little bit of research thinking about what kinds of groups, and you can be specific or not very specific. You can either talk about the names of people you want to connect with, or you can say, I want to find a group of families that do homeschooling. You know, for the second list of 5 people groups to consider. And then you need to be talking about, and each of these are just just short couple sentences long. Your response to the video, what it means to maybe do service in the area, and just just thinking about, start getting your mindset into this line of thought. And that's what these 3 things are, these sections. So it is longer than just declaring your artist, but that kind of so this is a little bit more work than the other one, but that gets balanced out with the other things because some of them, the research is more work than what you're doing with the service learning. But again, if you're going to do the service learning route, it is geared towards being specific to what you bring to the table and finding people that need your work in the community. So here in the previous one, you list 5 different people you can work with. And then in this assignment, you're going to be talking about doing a little bit of research on those people. And it may be as simple as finding specifics as who to contact. And there's a really good resource on campus right here. The Center for Social Impact is really good. They are and you can even go and interview a couple of them to get this assignment taken care of. And they will help find somebody that you can connect with, or you can do it on your own. And I'll give you an example, and I give examples of what to submit in this assignment as well. And again, this is only for the people who are doing the service learning option. And I'll give a couple examples of this kind of thing. Finding who to work with and how to connect with them. And then this is, what will my project look like? You're not designing your project necessarily, as you're just kind of guessing what it might be like. So the example, I'm going to give you 2 examples. One is, I started doing this when COVID hit, and there was one of the artists, she had her social media, she was a big skater, and she did custom design skateboards. So and that was her art, the custom making skateboards. During COVID, one of the cafes that she used to go to all the time, she found out that they were having a really hard time because people were no longer coming in to order stuff. So she actually went in and talked to them and ended up making a custom designed skateboard for them to hang in their cafe. And she took photos of it, put it on her social media, connected with all the different people that supported her in her skating community, and essentially saved that cafe, with the service project being she made a skateboard just for them and put it on her social media. So that's one example. Another one is, a guy had a pretty good idea of what he wanted to do, but the first people he worked with, they stopped returning his emails after about a week or so. So he revamped his project, went to somebody else. They stopped returning his emails after about 2 weeks. Worked with somebody else, and it got to the point where he was ready to get materials and everything and start working on it, and they backed out. And he only had 2 weeks before the end of the semester. He said, should I just rush and do the artist research stuff. And I said, no, you've done all this work already. If you can come up with another project, see if you can do that. So he actually just went around his neighborhood, found a person who had retired from the military and had chickens in the backyard, but didn't have any way to keep them safe or keep them covered during the winter. So he actually organized the neighborhood and he designed and built a sculptural chicken coop for this guy. And he didn't have to do all the work. He designed it, but people in the community came forward and they helped build it. So that was his service project. So two very, very different examples. And then I'll give a third example. Somebody is very, about a year ago, she was very good with social media and getting commissions through social media. She also has friends at Salt Lake Community College. So she went up to Salt Lake Community College and found out that they did volunteer mentoring for emerging artists, new student artists. And she volunteered her time for a couple of weeks to help students develop their Instagram and other social media pages so that they could start presenting themselves as professional artists. And that was her project. So she did total service oriented. She didn't produce a physical product. The first person with the skateboard made a skateboard, but used her social media connections to help save that cafe. And then the other guy that I talked about, um, everything was failing, but he turned around and was able to get a project done by organizing the community and helping them build a chicken coop that he designed. It looked like a medieval castle, and for a retired military veteran. So it can be very interesting. And so that's that. And then 7C is actually where you talk about what the project was and how successful it was. And then again, 7D is writing the 5-paragraph opinion essay about your experience. So that's what that is. So I know usually in this class, about 3/4 of everybody does the artist research, and then the remaining quarter they're doing um, the service learning. So whichever way you want to do that's fine with me. And I'm hoping everybody is done with the Tools of Artistic Critique quiz. Um, Mabel, have you already taken that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it did work.
Well, let me see. Oh yeah, I've
Okay,
I've done like the quiz of that. I don't think if it's I can't remember, but if we were supposed to do it last week, then I did it.
okay, all right. Yeah, it was due on Sunday. So, and then these other things are just to read. Now, the tools of artistic critique, we will start applying that in the third project that we do. We'll start talking about that. And I wanted everybody to be aware, look at this date, April 3rd. That's when the artistic critiques, your own work and somebody else's work that are due. And the reason why I wait that long is because I want you to have a little bit of experience in the discussions that we have in the class. And one of the big reasons for the discussions are so that you can see other people's work, so you have something to pick from. Because when you do your own work, critique on your own work, it needs to be for something that you've made for this class this semester. And when you're doing critiquing somebody else's work, it needs to be on something that somebody made for this class this semester. And so that's one of the reasons why it's out so far. Now, if you see something that you really like, as the houses start rolling in and stuff like that, and you want to do it sooner, you will get extra credit.
Actually, I haven't done it. I just checked. I'm still a little bit lost. I put a lot of effort in trying to do a lot of stuff last week, and I'm taking 6 classes, so it's kind of
That is
crazy.
not the best thing to do if you want to avoid stress.
Yeah, well, I need to get this done. So I'm on, yeah, it's been hard, but yeah, I I thought I had everything done that was due last week. Apparently not. Yeah.
All right. Well, just do your best.
Uh,
And again,
yeah.
if you see a zero on anything, all that means is it's a reminder to go back and get it done, basically.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So
do it
I don't
today.
want people to be stressed out about the class, but I do want people to do their best on trying to stay with it, as much as you
Yeah.
can. And
Yeah,
with
this
with
never happens to me. I thought I had done everything last week. Oh gosh.
yeah, but six classes
Yeah.
is just a little bit more than most people are
Mhm.
taking. So,
Yeah. Well,
we'll give you a little bit of leeway.
I don't like to miss things. I never do. This is rare for me. Oh, and embarrassing. I never miss one thing. So kind of weird. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking that quiz does work because about half the people have in the class have taken it. And
Mm-hmm.
so if please as everybody goes through the stuff, please double check and make sure that the things do work. And if they don't, let me know. Like one of the assignments, somebody wasn't able to submit anything, so they told me, and I realized that when I copied the assignment over from another class, it had reset itself, so it wasn't allowing anybody to submit anything on the assignment, which is bad. All right, we're going to look at the house in just a second, but I do want to reiterate. Now we're looking at the modules again. We're going to open up attendance. Remember that this is visible for you. These aren't. This is visible for everybody. And for this one, for this week, what you're going to be doing is going in. I'm sorry, this is for last week. You're going to be watching both these videos. Write one thing that you pick up from this video and four things that you pick up from this video. There's 5 points possible. If you get anything other than 5 points, look at what I wrote about it and then resubmit if you need to. And sometimes it may be that people will forget and only do four things, or they'll forget about the second video and not do that, or whatever. Uh, just look at what the points are, what the note is, and resubmit when you can. Now, I want to show you something that I thought was pretty clever. This is the the first submission on the house that we've gotten. This person, they had a bunch of gingerbread left over from the holidays. And so last week they asked me, hey, could I make my house out of gingerbread? And I, not thinking what they were going to do, I said, sure. I thought, holy cow. So this is what they made over the weekend for their house project. And they've made it so that it's actually, you can take it apart a little bit because they have other photos from inside the house itself. So you can see what the living room looks like and stuff like that. And let me see if I can find that. I'm
Yeah, it's
gonna,
in the discussion board. I just looked at it. She posted already in the discussion board and posted all the 5 pictures.
yeah, I want to show the one that's on the inside. Here we go. I just thought that this was pretty clever. They actually did like a full decorated setup on the inside. That is just a lot of fun
It's
for me to
it's really
see.
cute. It's really cute.
Now for the discussion on that one, uh, for the discussion to be complete, you first post and then you react to other people's
Mm-hmm.
submissions. And each, let's see, I'm gonna try to get back to the. I know that you have to leave pretty soon,
Mm-hmm. I
Mabel.
did my house if you wanted to. I already took the pictures as well. There's only one that so I'm gonna be posting those as well.
Well, and that's next Wednesday. Everybody should have those submitted this over this weekend, and so next Wednesday we're going to go through and critique those. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to critique them. I don't want to critique this one right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's okay. So let me, and I'll show people what the discussion looks like. So there's this on the discussion right now. But right here, to get full points on the discussion, you'll submit your 5 images and then give feedback of 45 or more words on each of 3 of your fellow students. So this person has submitted their images, but they can't do anything else yet because nobody else has submitted. And once people start submitting, then you go back in and respond to 3 others. But in that 45-word response to each of 3 of your fellow students, you're going to write 15 words about how they involved the viewer. You're going to write 15 words about how they captured different responses to the house structure. And this is just talking about, what's unique about their house, what kind of angles did they get that were interesting to you, those kinds of observations. And then in this, you're going to talk about, did you like which of their 5 um, photos did you think really worked on those concerns about taking the 5 pictures. Like the 5 pictures are close up, far away, weird angle, interesting setting, and unusual lighting. And so C is 15 words with how they did that. And I'm not I am more interested in people putting out the 45 words, trying to talk about these 3 different things than I am about how specific you are. I want you to look at it. I want you to be mindful of what they're doing and just demonstrate that you can see what they're doing. The other thing I'd really like you to be aware of is making sure that you're articulate in what you say. Not just they involved the viewer because it was cute. We don't want to do that. And they involved the viewer because you really, with the detail that they put in, you really buy in to the shift in scale. It drew me in, just like chapter 1 talks about. That's a great type of response for this kind of thing. Notice you have a reminder here, do not use HEIC files because my system does not recognize them. So that's what I wanted to talk about there. All right, now that's pretty much everything that I needed to cover for tonight, which is a little bit shorter than last week. I think last week we went the full hour and a half. Mabel, do you have any other observations or questions? You talked about uh, the module not being open, everything not being open all the same time, and I think we've got that fixed. Is there any other observation that you wanted to mention?
No, that was it. I'm still getting familiar with how things are structured here. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people, based on what you said, are also kind of a little bit lost. But hopefully I can get all the assignments done that I need to. Yeah, I'm gonna take another look and see if I have missed anything else. Hopefully not.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I'm worried about right now.
Okay.
Just get everything in that I need. Mhm.
This makes me think of something else, what you just said. If you guys feel that we are stacking too many things on all at once, like I know the first week had a lot of stuff to read. If you guys feel that we're overlapping things a little bit too much, let me know because I can expand due dates out a little bit.
Yeah. The
So,
other
so
the other concern that I had, maybe I should probably share it with you, that the house project, um it took me about 13 hours to do the house. But of course, I just can't do things that are not like how I want them to look. This is my house, but I did all of it with wood and things like that, which is not exactly what it doesn't have to be super finished or anything, but I just can't do things halfway. So I did the best I could. But my question is, the house only has the house project only has 25 points, and to me is a little bit strange that a quiz will have more points than actually a house. I mean, the actual physical project. Like a project like this in a 2D class last semester was worth about 100 points. So that's the difference. So this is just for you to, this is just a comment, a humble comment, because I know making
if you go
something
to
is,
the
yeah.
if you go to the assignment page as well, you'll see that each of the groups of assignments are also weighted. And there's a lot of things going into percentage and how the stuff is weighted and things like that. And this was all worked out by Jason. And so the reality is when everybody who gets an A usually spends between 12 and 15 hours on a project. So I
Yeah.
think you're right in the right area.
Okay.
So that sounds pretty good.
Okay. Sounds good then. Um, yeah, just the 25 points for this kind of looked not correct, but based on my other classes, but I'm not the one doing this, so this is just me thinking, but that's all I have.
When I was looking at the quizzes that you take have a lot more points than than the projects, but the percentage of the total grade that the quizzes is a lot lower than the
Okay.
project. The projects have a higher, are more weighted heavily.
Okay.
So it can. There
A
was another
balance
guy
at
that
the
was
end.
doing this where the projects even had fewer points, but he weighted it even more, and that was kind of confusing to me.
Mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's a good observation.
Okay.
All right, well,
Right.
that this is kind of a shorter class than normal, but I think we got everything taken care of. Next week, it's going to be a little bit more fun because we'll be able to look at a lot of people's projects and stuff, and I'll go through and critique each of them. And I just there's a couple things I want people to remember. Um, Watch the video and go, read the stuff before you start um, getting upset with questions. That's one thing. Another thing is zeros don't mean anything other than you need to remember to do the assignment at some point. And if you can't get it done on time, just let me know. It's not that big of a deal. There's always a grace period. Um, I just want people to stay on top of stuff as much as they can.
Yeah, that's nice of you. Not all of the teachers offer that. That's really nice. So, thank
And
you.
then there is a direct correlation between time spent and the grade earned as well, which I think is really interesting. But I'm pretty sure that's everything I wanted to cover. If you do have more questions, and this is everybody, not just Mabel, if you do have more questions, I've had some of the people who've had questions that I thought I addressed, I found out I had addressed, but they didn't read the syllabus, they didn't read the assignments, and they didn't watch the attendance video. And so, of course, they had questions. So if people watch the attendance videos, if you read the material that I've asked you to read and do things in sequence, a lot of those concerns have a tendency to disappear because you have the context and understand. But all right, that's everything I wanted to cover tonight, and I think we've done pretty good. So I will look forward to seeing your house all photographed and everything like that. Um, Again, if you don't get a perfect score on stuff, look at what I've written and resubmit, and you'll get more points all the time. All right, well, thank you very much, Mabel, and I'll look forward to
Thank you.
seeing
Have a good
you
week.
next
Thanks.
week.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.